Yud Beis. Yud Beis, page 234. Nitzavim-Vayeilech, from the nodule going upward. Where it begins slanting until you come to the pitum. Posach hazozis, this scab invalidates it. We said lower down you have to have 2-3 locations. Right? The question was on all sides, one side. But on the where it starts slanting upward, even any level of scab or even discoloration, choshinu mare b'choshu. The question is what shini mare? What is the discoloration? So we'll see. It has to be, if it's, let's say it's green, it starts turning gold or yellow. That's not a discoloration because that is the color. That is the color. I was talking about a color which is not the natural color. I spoke before white or black. That's not the natural color of an esrog. That's considered discoloration. It's interesting, you know. At one time when they used to remove spots from an esrog because it could make a difference in the value, whether it's kosher or not, they would take a tiny needle and they would actually try to pick it off. But sometimes when you pick, you could actually cause a choser. You pick through this. If you just scratch the skin, it's not a choser. We had earlier, remember, there's like a glaze on the esrog. The glaze is not the esrog. But if you penetrate the skin itself, right, it's more than making a hole, because they pick it. Because they have to remove that black spot. They may pick a piece of esrog out of it. It can be very tiny. But according to one opinion, even a mashu, according to one opinion, it's possible. Right? So it's not according. B'diavad, it's kosher, but it's not definitely not lechatchila. Wash, sure. So what do they use today? Today they use beeswax. They take beeswax and they press it to the esrog because very often it's not really a spot which grew in it as part of it. It's dirt. It's dirt in the crevice of the esrog. So by the wax, it's like you put it on and it pastes. It's like putty, and you pull it away. So it pulls off very often. It pulls out the blackness, comes out without damaging. Yes, that's what they use. But years ago, they used to use a needle, and they pick it away. Doesn't come out. And it's in the upper part. It's possible. It's a black spot. What has to be visually, it has to be noticed. There's a whole question now. It's not simple. We say if it's any level of discoloration in the nodule, or it slants up, it's possible. So very often, the question is, you hold it. How far away do you have to hold it to see it? Let's say you hold it like this. You're going to see it. What about like this? So it's not. Also, these things are not simple. Everybody has his evaluation. No magnifying glass now. Some hold. If it's only during under magnifying glass, that's not called. When you lift, you don't see it. That's not a problem. Because the whole issue is hodor. Hodor is what visually you see. You don't see it. So that's what we're saying. Even when you hold it, how close does it have to be to your eye to be able to see it? Right? You hold it like this. This is where you normally hold something. Right? Not you don't bring it closer. So what about like this? What about its arm's length? I understand that. But just saying, so all these different things are issues, exactly what is and what's not. Okay? Okay. Right. No, but let me ask you a question. What happens if you hold, when you take the 4 species, the aluminium, you hold it like this? You don't hold it like this, right? Unless you have the sitter and you're nearsighted or farsighted, so you have to hold it away. Okay. Yesh Misha Omer. So the first opinion is that if it has a scab or even any slight degree of discoloration, what a discoloration is, the esrog is possible. If it's in what? In the chotim. That's the nodule. Yesh Misha Omer du adin di yovish posel shom. If you have any degree of dryness there, right? So why is yovish possible? Because it's lacking hodor. So if we're saying a discoloration detracts from the hodor, if it's in the nodule, so yovish should also. Right? You look at, because that is the primary part of the esrog. So if you have any level of dryness, it's a problem. B'choshu, The Ovish Posu Shem B'choshu, even to a small degree, it should invalidate the Esrog. Yud Beis. Just the opposite. That's natural. Not a problem. It's not a problem. Some don't. Some are very smooth. I mean, it's just the opposite. I mean, ridges is the characteristic of an esrog. That is the natural profile of an esrog. That it is bumpy. It has ridges and it's elongated. It's not round.
So smoothness would be an issue because people not to use it for lemon?
No, because there's a whole question. If it's what's his name, it's even more tough. Sometimes when they crossbreed it, a lemon is smooth. A lemon is not bumpy like an esrog. So all these issues are. But you have cases where it's not a crossbreed. It's not a murkav. But the natural characteristic is that it's elongated, it's bumpy, and also there's a whole question even by Hasidim where actually it has in the center there's an indentation in the center, goes in. Yeah, that's hodr. Like we discussed earlier, what we call the hemnik on the top of the lulav, where it's bent over like a hook nose on top. Some say it's lachatchila. That is hodr. Others say no, it's better to stay away from that. Because the natural is where it comes up to a point. It's not where it's bent over. It's a question. Hasidim are makbid on that. Because they want that. You want it closed. And the Rosh says it's something special. Other Rishonim says not, because it's supposed to be straight on top. Right. Now, what's shini mare? What is considered discoloration? Right? Could go shocher v'lovim. If it's black or it's white. Kimbur l'kam sif tezayin. Kolshu, daf shinira lakol. Yeah, now he says, that's only visually if you're able to see it. Avol, emei nira la'ayin machmas dakuso. Tzorch l'stakel. He says, what about it's so tiny, you have to really look close at it to notice it. Ein ze koshu ma'pishbosa. That small degree is meaningless. So from here it's clear. If you have to take a magnifying glass to see it, definitely it's 100% kosher. If you only see it under the mat, definitely. But he says if you have to actually take off your glass, put it close to your eye to notice it, everybody agrees that's nothing. That's not called a spot. It's something that you see naturally. It's natural, it's obvious. When you look at it, you see the spot. But it's not obvious when you see the spot, then it's nothing. That's what he's saying. No. The only time they'd use a magnifying glass is in terms of choser. Sometimes you can't see, because not for the dot. Because when they pick it, sometimes you see it's an indentation. We had earlier indentation. If it's less than the isser, everybody agrees, as long as it's not missing. Isser is a very small coin, right? But if it's just pushed in, it's not a problem. It was bruised, it's pushed in, it's okay. But sometimes you don't know. Was it just pushed in, or something was actually picked out of it? So by using a magnifying glass, sometimes you could see whether there's a piece missing or not. But outside of that, there's no reason to use a magnifying glass. No. Holes anywhere. No, according to one opinion. Remember, it was machlokas. But lechatchila, if it has a hole, even a small degree, to the smallest degree, it's considered choser. Okay? We say just as if you have the spot or the scab on the upper part, it's invalidated. Same thing, if it's dry even to a small degree, it's possible. Whatever would invalidate for hodr. But anywhere else other than that, let's say it's dry, it has to be, the majority has to be dry. Let's say it's dry in 2 or 3 spots on the esrog we had earlier, just as if you have a scab, it invalidates it. So if for some reason certain parts of the esrog dry out, 2, 3 parts, it invalidates the esrog. Similar to the what? To the chazozes, to the scab. Further. Now, what is chazozes? He goes to explain. Chazos kmo ababuos v'yesh bo mamosh, meaning it's something which is like ababuos is a like a pimple. It's like a pimple. It's something which is above the skin. He says, yesh bo mamish, mean when you run your finger over it, there's something, it's not the natural surface of the, it's not a bump. If it's a ridge like you have, like esrog is bumpy. That's the natural surface of the esrog. But on top of that, there's something else. Shemekoma nikar b'mishush, shugavo me'esrog. If you just run your finger by touching it, you see it's something, it's above this, it's on the skin of the esrog. Now it's interesting, regarding when you kasher kalim. So the halacha is that if you have anything attached to the surface, the metal, you can't do hagola. Right? Let's say you have rust. If you have rust on a kli, this is based on the Gemara, on the Rishonim. If you have rust, more in Avodah Zarah, we had it. Also more in Psochim, that if there's rust, you can't be maga. Why? Because there's a concern that under the rust there may be some degree of food. Because what's hagola? Hagola is you extract what's absorbed, right? That's hagola. It's purging. You cook up something because there's a principle kibolo kachpolto. As it absorbs, that's where you extract. So how did it absorb into the kli, the chametz? Through cooking. So when you cook water in it, you extract it in the same manner. That's kibolo kachpolto. It's more in Avodah Zarah, more chulin. So what about if you have? Well, let's say you have actually the substance itself. Let's say you don't wash a pot well, without rust. Well, a vessel wasn't washed well, and you have some residue of food. You can't kosher it. Doesn't work. Because purging only is to extract what's absorbed in the walls. You're not dealing with substance, with the substance itself. So when you have rust, there's a concern that maybe under the rust, it's called chaluda, there may be some substance intermingled with that. So you're not extracting what's absorbed, but you're dealing with the substance itself. That's the halacha. But it's brought explicit. Very often, even if you take steel wool and you clean the surface of a metal pot, there's a discoloration. You could have like discoloration on the metal, like black dots or gray or whatever it may be. Although normally it's silver, but discoloration. So the halacha is that if you run your finger over it and it's smooth, that's not called a chatzitza. That's not considered an adhesion to the pot. Right? So that's how you make the determination. If your finger runs smoothly over it, that's called a discoloration. That doesn't interfere with the hagola. But if you feel any bumpiness, then you have to either take a file or you have to take steel wool and you have to remove it to make it a smooth surface. Only then are you able to purge the pot. Okay? That's the halacha hagola. So here we speak about the chazozis to determine what it is. If you run your finger over it, the skin is smooth, even though it's bumpy, it's not a problem. But when you run your finger over, you feel there's something on the surface, that's a scab, that's a chazozis. Like I told you, in Yiddish they call it a fleck. Fleck, like a flake. Fleck means like a flake, there's something on it, attached to it. Yeah, but the spot we're talking about, the fleck over here, it's more than a spot. It's a stain, the fleck is a stain. Yeah. Could be, yeah. He says, but if you have a chazozis, which in German, or in Yiddish they call it mul. Okay, it's a discoloration. Others say that you validate it because that's the color of the esrog. The regilim lios harbikach. He says that concept, they say, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. That since many esrogim have this discoloration, whatever it is, that's the natural color of the esrog. The esrogim problem in a certain region, that's the way they grow. So if that's the way they grow, that's what they're supposed to look. That is the profile and the way esrog looks. Many years ago, when they imported the kiwi. The kiwi, when it first came to America, it came from Australia. New Zealand? Okay, maybe New Zealand. Okay, and I remember, this goes back in the 70s, and I remember when it first came to America, people used it for Shechianu or Rosh Hashanah, because we ate kiwis, right? So it was a Shechianu fruit. Today, people eat kiwis throughout the year. And also it was like an unusual fruit. So when you send shalach manos, you send a fruit which is like unusual. But I think they called it then, I think they called it the ugly fruit. They called it then the ugly fruit, the kiwi. Since then there's another fruit they call the ugly fruit. But when they first came here, they called that the ugly fruit. You know, so everything is relative. You know, you're not used to it. It doesn't look as attractive as an orange or as an apple or a pear or a plum. So this is like another kind of fruit. You know, it may be exotic, but it's an ugly fruit. Okay, so the same thing. So since the esrogim, this region, it has this level of discoloration, and most esrogim have it, that's the natural color of an esrog. So therefore, it's not a detraction of the beauty of the hodder. That's the concept. Green is definitely the natural. First, there's machlok shushonim if it's good or not. Unless you see the different levels of green. Sometimes you could buy a green esrog. It's so green that it doesn't have any degree of yellowing. I mean, eventually, it hasn't started yellowing yet. If it has any degree of yellowing, that's not called green. That everybody agrees is 100% okay. You know, sometimes when you buy it, it's green, but you already see shades of yellow coming about. That everybody agrees is 100% kosher. But if there's a question, if it's totally green, where it has there's not even a hint of yellow, there's a question if you should use that esrog. Because the natural color of an esrog is really yellow. It's not green. So it's like the unripened esrog, so of course that's not hodder. Even though it's species it is, but it hasn't reached that stage yet.
I'm sure that it was in European times when it was one esrog per community or something like that, but the esrog got passed from person to person to person. The actual holding it to many, many people, I'm sure caused stains and...
Yeah, but that stain is natural. It's not black, it's not white. So it will be a brownish stain. Brown is when the esrog ripens or whatever, to a degree, it turns that color. I'm not saying it's the ultimate hodder, but factually it's still considered the discoloration is not some of the color which is not natural to the esrog. I mean, eventually it becomes, once it loses its, it becomes, we had it earlier, it becomes mushy. And eventually the sweat of everybody's hands, you know, eventually it becomes like just it becomes a sack, it starts deteriorating. That's another level. Okay, let's see the hopes of the